Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Some people think they can lie, cheat, manipulate, and get away with it. But when karma clocks in, no one stands a chance. In today's video, we're looking at people whose bad decisions came back to haunt them, with consequences they never saw coming. Meet Andy Byron, the former CEO of Astronomer, a data and AI company valued at over $1 billion. He had the board, the funding, the title that gets your calls returned, and a wife, Megan Kerrigan Byron, with whom he shared 2 sons and what looked like a stable life. On July 16, 2025, he set it all to fire when he took himself to Gillette Stadium to see Coldplay. 70,000 people in the building, and he wasn't sitting with his wife. He was sitting with Kristen Cabot, the company's chief people officer, a woman he had personally hired 8 months earlier, gushing that she was a proven leader, whose exceptional leadership would be critical to the company's rapid trajectory. He wasn't kidding about the rapid part. Everything was fine until the kiss cam landed on them.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay?
The Jumbotron caught Byron with his arms wrapped around Cabot, swaying to the music like 2 people who had forgotten there were 70,000 witnesses. When they realized they were on screen, Byron dropped to the ground. Cabot turned away and covered her face. Exactly the kind of behavior you'd expect from a cheater. And Coldplay frontman Chris Martin, who had no idea who these people were, looked at the crowd and said what everyone was already thinking.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
The crowd laughed, the internet ran with it, and within hours, TikTok and X had identified both of them. Someone commented, "This is too spicy even for us. The tea at work is going to be so good for Astronomer employees. No work will get done at all." Here's the thing that makes this case different. Byron wasn't caught by a whistleblower or a journalist. He was caught by a stadium camera in front of a rock band while his own employee was in his arms. You cannot script this. And the internet did what it does best. By the next morning, TMZ had confirmed Byron was married, and Megan's response was immediate, silent, and devastating. She scrubbed Byron from her Facebook name. Then her Instagram disappeared. She just erased him from her digital existence and retreated to the family's $2.4 million main mansion. The woman didn't need to say a word. The name change said everything. Meanwhile, lip readers caught Byron's exact reaction when he saw himself on screen. "It's me," Cabot was heard saying. "This is awkward," before ducking out of view. And Chris Martin, apparently realizing he might have just blown up 2 marriages, told the crowd, "Hope we didn't do something bad." Oh, Chris, you didn't do something bad. They did. By the next day, the Astronomer placed Byron on leave. By the weekend, he had resigned. The company's statement was corporate poetry. "Our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability." And recently, that standard was not met. They added, with what can only be described as grim irony, that while awareness of our company may have changed overnight, our product and our work for our customers have not. Kristen Cabot resigned days later. Her husband, Andrew Cabot, filed for divorce in August. The couple had taken out a $1.6 million mortgage on a New Hampshire home just months earlier. That paperwork got complicated fast. But this is where the story takes a turn, because months later, Kristen Cabot decided to tell her side. On March 2026, she sat down with Oprah Winfrey for her first on-camera interview, and what she revealed made the whole thing even more bizarre. She told Oprah that she and her estranged husband had already decided to separate weeks before the concert. She said Byron had told her that he and Megan were also living apart and planning a divorce. She admitted that night was the first time she and Byron had ever shared physical affection. And in a separate New York Times interview, she put it bluntly, "I made a bad decision and had a couple of high noons and danced and acted inappropriately with my boss. And I took accountability and I gave up my career for that. That's the price I chose to pay."
Maybe 4 or 6 weeks prior to the Coldplay concert, my husband and I had decided to separate and were living apart and planning for a divorce. And Andy Byron, my boss at the time, he and I had a very close working relationship. It was about around the time that Andrew and I, my husband, had separated, and Andy, the same name, so forgive me, to try to keep up here.
Yeah.
Andy and I had gone out to grab sandwiches during the workday, and he asked me, I seemed a little off, and he just said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, my husband and I are separating and planning a divorce." And he immediately let me know that he was in the exact same situation, that he and his wife were living apart. They were planning for a divorce, and it had been many years in the making. So that became like a really instant kind of point of connection for us. And And
were you having more lunches? Was it becoming?
Yes, we were. It just felt like a really familiar, like safe place to talk about what was going on. And it's so much easier when someone else is in it, in the same experience. We could share that. So we developed feelings for each other during that time.
Okay, because I'm
for sure.
Yeah.
She told Oprah she received threats and her children were scared and former friends and colleagues shunned her. As for Byron, he never gave a public statement. Just a resignation, a deleted LinkedIn, and months later, photos of him and Meghan walking hand in hand on a beach, both still wearing their wedding bands. They're still together, somehow. So, a rock band from England accidentally exposed a billion-dollar affair with one joke and a jumbotron. The CEO lost his company, the HR chief lost her career. Next up, we have Karen Savage. Just by the name, you can tell the kind of person she'll be. This 63-year-old art teacher at Barrington Middle School in Lithia, Florida, mother, grandmother, and by her own social media description, a woman who calls teaching her gift and passion. She had been in classrooms long enough to be able to retire gracefully. Instead, she decided to display her racism in front of 14-year-olds. It started like any other art class. Savage had confiscated a black baby doll from a student, apparently frustrated that nobody was paying attention to class. So she walked over to the classroom television, grabbed the charger cord, and wrapped it around the doll's neck. Students watched as she tried multiple times to get it hung above the TV, then lowered it down so the whole room could see it dangling.
Oh my god. She got it. She got it.
The student who recorded it, a 14-year-old named Noah, said the room started with nervous laughter. Then it changed. Fast. Students started telling her it was wrong, that it was racist. And here's where it gets truly unhinged. Savage's response wasn't an apology. It wasn't even a denial. She laughed it off and told them she did it to get their attention. When they kept pushing, she said it was just a joke and took the doll down. Noah later told reporters, "I needed more evidence so that she doesn't get away with it." He reported it to school administrators, and even then she tried to bury her horrible actions. She followed me after class was over, and that's when she started talking over me and not letting me speak when I was trying to report what she did.
After I seen what was happening, I just decided that I wanted to get proof that that actually happened. She followed me after class was over.
Yeah,
and she started talking over me and not letting me speak when I was trying to report what she did.
Noah's mother, Nina Williams, was at work when her son sent the video to the family group chat. Her reaction?
When you saw it, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
When I first saw it, I went into a panic. The first thing that came through my mind was, I need to go get my baby. I immediately had thoughts of things that have occurred in the past with many of our children did not end well. And I just went into a panic and went and picked my other little ones up from their school and headed straight to his school and called the school and told them, remove my son. I want him in that office now. I am on the way.
Williams posted the video to Facebook. It hit over 1 million views, and she didn't mince words. This emotionally affected all the children in that classroom. My son's friends of different cultures and races were all deeply offended and disturbed by this racist act. This is not a classroom management tool. This is straight up hate and trauma being weaponized in front of our children in a place where they are supposed to be safe. The backlash was immediate. Parents flooded the district's social media. The community demanded accountability, saying words like, to have this depiction done in front of students, where there were African American students in class. It's shameful, it's hurtful, and unacceptable.
Have this depiction done in front of students where there were African American students in class. It's shameful, it's hurtful, and it's unacceptable.
Civil rights attorneys reached out to Williams within days, and while most people were rightfully outraged, there was the predictable corner of the internet arguing it may have been taken out of context, because apparently, hanging a black doll by its neck from a charger cord needs more context. The internet was rightfully angry. Someone commented, "Unbelievable. This is horrific. She should be fired immediately. Sue the school for emotional distress. Evil pose for a teacher. Poor kids." Hillsborough County Schools Superintendent Van Ayers condemned the display immediately and confirmed Savage had been removed from campus. Miss Savage's employment has been terminated, effective immediately, and the incident has been reported to the Florida Department of Education's Office of Professional Practice Services for any action regarding her teaching certificate. By the next day, the district dropped the hammer. Their statement read, "We want to reiterate that we do not tolerate conduct of this nature. We took immediate action and responded swiftly to ensure the situation was handled appropriately." The district also made school counselors and administrators available for any students at Barrington Middle who needed support, which they absolutely did. Williams thanked the district for moving quickly. "I do thank them for moving quickly to remove her from the school building," she said. "I do appreciate that, and I am praying that she never gets to return to another school in any county, in any state." And with her teaching certificate now under review by the state of Florida, that prayer might actually be answered. A 63-year-old woman with decades in education, a classroom full of children, and one charger cord that ended her entire career. You cannot make this up. Lexi Lawler, 12 years as a labor and delivery nurse, 0 disciplinary history. The woman who helped bring babies into the world for over a decade. And then she decided to use that exact expertise to wish permanent bodily harm on a pregnant woman. It all started when White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced she was expecting her second child.
"This will likely be my last gaggle for some time. As you can see, I'm about ready to have a baby any minute. So I will see you guys very soon. I know you'll be in very good hands with my team here at the White House, and I know all of you have the president's phone number personally, so I have no doubt that you will have a shortage of statements and news from this building while I am gone."
Most people sent congratulation, like, "God bless you, I wish you an easy labor." Lexi Lawler sent a 14-second TikTok. In the video, she looked into the camera and said, "It gives me great joy to wish Leavitt a 4th-degree tear during childbirth."
As a labor and delivery nurse, it gives me great joy to wish Caroline Leavitt a 4th-degree tear.
And in case you're not familiar with obstetrics, a 4th-degree tear isn't a minor inconvenience. It is the most severe tear possible, with potential for lifelong complications. Lawler knew exactly what she was wishing for. She was a labor and delivery nurse. This was her specialty, and she capped it off with, "I hope you from bow to stern and never normally again, you."
I hope that you from bow to stern and never normally again, you.
The video went viral before she could set it to private. And here's the thing that made it worse than your average political rant. It wasn't just some random troll on the internet. This was a healthcare professional in the exact field where this injury happens, wishing it on a pregnant patient. The backlash wasn't about politics, it was about trust. If you're in labor and delivery, your entire job is built on the promise that you will protect the person giving birth. Don't wish them mutilated because you don't like them. Baptist Health Boca Raton Regional Hospital moved fast. By January 23rd, they had fired her and issued a statement. The comments made in a social media video by a nurse at one of our facilities do not reflect our values or the standards we expect of healthcare professionals. Following a prompt review, the individual is no longer employed by our health system. They added, "While we respect the right to personal opinions, there is no place in healthcare for language or behavior that calls into question a caregiver's ability to provide compassionate, unbiased care. We are committed to an environment that promotes trust, professionalism, and respect for all." But the hospital firing her wasn't the end of it. It was just the beginning. On January 28th, Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier announced that Lexi Lawler was no longer allowed to practice nursing in Florida. His statement was direct and brutal on X, making statements that wish pain and suffering on anyone when those statements are directly related to one's practice is an ethical red line we should not cross. He didn't stop there. Uthmeier publicly argued that being fired isn't good enough. Any healthcare worker who fails to uphold his or her obligation to provide adequate, safe healthcare should not be licensed in Florida. No excuses. When the mayor of your city is publicly calling your comments disgusting, you know you've crossed a line.
These people should not have a license. If you're going to make saying because somebody's a Republican.
The Florida Board of Nursing issued an emergency suspension order that same day, effectively stripping her of the license she had held for 12 years. Now, you'd think at this point she'd take the L and go quiet, but Lawler wasn't done. She posted a second video, this time responding to the Minneapolis of Alex Pretty, a nurse who lost life in a Border Patrol case. In that clip, she said, "They a man in Minnesota, and you are coming after me because I used bad language? I'm on the right side of this. while giving the middle finger, because apparently doubling down is the only move in the playbook.
They murdered a man in Minnesota, and you mother coming after me because I use bad language. I'm on the right side of this. You.
Then came the legal fight. In February, Lawler filed an appeal with Florida's First District Court of Appeal, arguing that her off-duty comments were protected political speech and that the state's emergency suspension was excessive. Her petition emphasized that there were no allegations of patient harm, no safety complaints, and no claims of poor clinical performance during her 12-year career. She asked the court to either lift the suspension entirely or at least modify it so she could work in non-patient-facing nursing roles. And then came the GoFundMe. Her husband launched a fundraiser titled Help Lexi Lawler Fight Retaliation for Speaking Out, which raised $35,429. The page framed the case as government overreach, arguing that when the Attorney General and Surgeon General of Florida involve themselves in matters affecting a single private citizen, that represents an extraordinary level of state involvement. It noted she had 10 years of nursing with zero disciplinary history and spoke off the clock as a private citizen. The funds, they said, would cover legal expenses related to employment and civil rights claims. Did she defend her fraternity in the right way, or was it real Karen behavior? Let me know in the comments. Nell Diala, 6 months into her probationary period as an Alaska Airlines flight attendant, training completed at the top of her class, the dream job she had fought for, the uniform she was proud to wear, and a lingerie and dessert side hustle she was funding with the income, the kind of fresh start that makes you want to dance. And dance she did. It was 6 in the morning. The plane was empty. The pilots were 2 hours late. Diala and the crew were stuck on a grounded Boeing 737 at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, idling away the time with no passengers in sight. So she did what millions of people do when they're bored and have a phone. She hit record, threw on Ghetto by EKE, and twerked in the aisle for 15 seconds. She captioned it, "Ghetto Big Till I Die. Don't let the uniform fool you." She never mentioned Alaska Airlines, never showed the logo, just a woman, an empty plane, and a dance. The video went viral overnight, and someone commented, "This generation of women. It's not a strip club. This was completely unprofessional." And instead of love and support, it brought a phone call from her manager. Here's the thing that makes this case genuinely different from most workplace meltdowns. Diala wasn't drunk. She wasn't racist, but celebrating. In her own words, she wrote, "I was celebrating the end of probation and making it out of a hard upbringing in San Francisco." She thought she was sharing a moment of joy. The airline thought she was violating their social media policy. 2 weeks after the meeting with her managers, on what should have been the final day of her probation, crew scheduling pulled her from a trip and sent her to a management meeting. Later that same day, she was unemployed. No warning, no formal chance to defend herself, just a termination letter and a request to hand in her wings. Diala didn't go quietly. She went on Inside Edition, tears streaming down her face, and told Anne Mercogliano exactly what losing that job meant to her. "I didn't think that being so happy could turn into something like this," she said. "I was really proud of myself that I came so far. I just didn't think that my video and my post and the way I was dancing would be deemed as inappropriate." She told them she was terminated without discussion, without a chance to explain, and without what she called a thorough and proper investigation.
I didn't think that, being so happy can turn into something like this. I decided to just take advantage of the moment to wake myself up and kind of get myself hyped up for my day.
What did they say to you?
They just said that I broke their social media policy.
Why did you decide to post the video?
And I was really proud of myself that I came so far. I just didn't think that my video and my post and the way I was dancing would be deemed as inappropriate.
So how did you feel in that meeting when they told you you lost your job?
I put on such a proud face every time I stepped on that plane, and for them to terminate me without giving me a chance, it just was unfair.
But she didn't stop crying. She went public with an accusation that changed the conversation. In a social media post, Diala alleged that Alaska Airlines discriminated against her because her dance was geared towards the urban community. She wrote, "The company would like to embrace all cultures, but leave the minority girl from the ghetto out." She pointed to Alaska Airlines. Alaska Airlines, for their part, kept it corporate. Their statement to The Independent read, "While we don't comment on personnel matters, we hold all flight attendants to high standards for conduct and guest care. All new flight attendants are subject to probationary periods, just like all Alaska Airlines employees." But Diala decided she was going to make them need one. In June 2026, she filed a federal lawsuit against Alaska Airlines and her own union, the Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, alleging race and sex discrimination under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, plus wrongful termination. She argued her probationary status was a pretextual justification for a termination decision that had already been influenced by discriminatory considerations relating to her race and gender, and she named the union too, alleging they refused to help her appeal and failed to fairly represent her. The airline and the union both declined to comment. And then there was the GoFundMe, launched in January 2025, titled with the kind of raw honesty that only comes from desperation, a plea to cover her living expenses while she looked for another flight attendant job. She explained on the page that the income had been funding her. "Although this was my dream job, I was using the income to fund my blossoming lingerie and dessert business, and that, without warning, she had lost everything." And this was netizens' reaction. The goal was $12,000. The result? About $182. Not $1,800, not $18,000. $182. The internet, it turned out, was not opening its wallet for this particular cause. Shannon Kobylarczyk spent years building a career as an associate general counsel at Manpower Group, a global staffing company, and serving on the board of directors at Make-A-Wish, Wisconsin. She had the corporate title, the charity credentials, and the kind of LinkedIn profile that says, "I attend galas." All of it was gone by the seventh inning stretch. It was October 14th, 2025. Game 2 of the National League Championship Series at American Family Field. The Milwaukee Brewers were hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the stadium was packed with playoff energy. In the stands sat Ricardo Fasado, a U.S. Navy veteran who had served in Afghanistan and Iraq after enlisting following 9/11, a U.S. citizen of Mexican heritage, a Dodgers fan who had driven up from Chicago on a work trip just to catch the game. The Dodgers took a 3-1 lead in the seventh inning. Fasado stood up, turned to the quiet Milwaukee crowd, and asked the question every away fan asks when their team is winning. Why is everybody quiet? Playful, standard, baseball. Kobylarczyk, sitting a few rows behind him, had a different response. Fasado didn't back down.
Why is everybody quiet? Why is everybody quiet? Why is everybody quiet? What is this? I'm sorry.
You know what? Let's call ICE.
Call ICE. Call ICE. I'm a U.S. citizen. We're veteran, baby girl. We're veteran. 2 wars. ICE is not going to do nothing to me. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Kobylarczyk then swiped at his phone. And here's the part that makes this case genuinely infuriating. Stadium security didn't remove the woman to deport a veteran. They removed the veteran. Fasado was escorted out of the building for disorderly conduct and public intoxication, despite the Milwaukee Police Department later confirming there was no citation and no police report. The woman who started it got to finish the game. But the internet doesn't need stadium security to do its job. Fasado's friend posted the video to Instagram. Within hours, it had been viewed over 2 million times. Internet sleuths identified Kobylarczyk before she could even get home. And the fallout was immediate, brutal, and entirely self-inflicted. Manpower Group placed her on leave the same day the video surfaced. By the next day, she was unemployed. Their statement was surgical. As soon as we became aware of this video, the individual was placed on immediate leave and we began an investigation. As a result of this process, the employee is no longer with the organization. We remain committed to maintaining a culture grounded in respect, integrity, and accountability. 24 hours from viral video to termination. That's what happens when you're an attorney and you act like you never read the employee handbook. Make-A-Wish Wisconsin didn't wait either. They announced, "Shannon Kobylarczyk resigned from our board of directors this afternoon, effective immediately. Make-A-Wish Wisconsin does not condone nor agree with Kobylarczyk's words and actions. She resigned, but let's be clear, when a charity that grants wishes to terminally ill children drops you before dinner, that's not a voluntary exit, that's a push." And then came came the stadium ban. The Milwaukee Brewers issued a statement saying, "The Brewers expect all persons attending games to be respectful of each other, and we do not condone in any way offensive statements fans make to each other about race, gender, or national origin. Our priority is to ensure that all in attendance have a safe and enjoyable experience at the ballpark." Kobe Larchik scrubbed her LinkedIn and Facebook within hours. No apology, no statement, just digital silence. But here's the twist that makes this case unforgettable. Ricardo Fossado, the man she tried to have deported, felt bad for her. He told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, "I don't think it was horrible or something that should get her fired. I feel bad for her. We cannot be judged on one mistake, and a lot of emotions were involved. It just hurts feelings. Nobody physically hurts anybody." He also said, "Her heart is where it's at, you know. I can't do anything about it. Nothing that I say that would change her thoughts about me."
I'm sorry she got fired. And if there's anything I can do to help you get your job back, I'm open for it, but yeah, I feel bad.
A veteran who served 2 wars showed more grace to his bully than she showed to a stranger at a baseball game. And in the end, he's the one who got kicked out, while she lost her job, her board seat, her online presence, and her right to ever watch the Brewers again. You cannot make this up. If you liked today's video, subscribe to the channel and comment below what was the best karma case, and I'll see you in the next one.